Books on the Brain.
Welcome back to Books on the Brain, a podcast of books and nonsense. I'm Deirdre,
And I'm Danielle.
and we are very excited to have a special guest on our last episode of season 5, author Hannah Whitten. Hannah
Yeah.
has been writing to amuse herself since she could hold a pen, and sometime in high school, figured out that what amused her might also amuse others. Her books have been international bestsellers and translated into multiple languages. When she's not writing, she's reading, watching horror movies, or chasing after her feral children. She lives in Tennessee with her family, 2 dogs who think they run the house, and a cat who actually does. She is the author of the Wilderwood duology and the recently finished Nightshade Crown Trilogy. Please welcome to the pod, Hannah.
Yay! Thank you guys for having me.
We are so excited that you're coming. I'm gonna turn my light on. Ooh,
There it is. There she is.
there
There
she
she
is.
is, and she's a beaut. It's
No,
so
seriously.
beautiful.
It is. The
So
Orbit art
gorgeous.
department never misses.
I know. How does it feel to have some of the best covers in the game?
Pretty good. I'm into it. Yeah. They always do right by us over at Orbit. They know what they're doing.
They do.
No,
They
they
do.
do. It's gorgeous. How's everybody doing this fine Saturday?
I'm good. I'm pretending that it's fall,
Same.
even though it's like 85 degrees outside. But we went to Spirit Halloween today, so it like put me in the mood. And so
Love.
now we were very excited. This is the first year that we've like been close to one.
Oh,
So we made a whole thing of it. We have our costumes. We are set to go.
Cute. So sweet.
amazing. I'm going to Sabrina Carpenter's Halloween show at MSG this year, and my friend and I keep hemming and hawing on what Halloween costume we're gonna do because we're like, it
Yeah.
has to be something Sabrina, but we don't want to
Yes.
go as Sabrina. So we're trying to figure out
Yeah.
what one of her like
Ooh.
horror costumes or one of her music video costumes we could like
Yeah.
characterify so that it's like a dual.
Y'all should do, is it just the two of you going?
Yeah,
Okay, y'all should do the Death Becomes Her.
that was one of our options.
Yeah.
There were like
That's
That
a
would be a good
great
one.
option.
there were 3 solid looks from the music video that I was like,
Yes.
okay, we could fully combo movie, musical, and music video into
Yeah.
Yeah.
costume, which would be
That would
fun.
really cover all your bases.
Right? And then, but she just performed, I think it was Lollapalooza, and she wore this white 2-piece fringe set and this little red jumpsuit. And I was like,
Ooh.
oh my God, we could go as an angel and a devil,
Cute.
That
which
would
is
also be really
also
cute.
really fun. But now her new album's dropping and there's a new music
Yeah.
video coming out next week. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna hold off for a couple because I feel like we've got almost 2 months.
Yes.
So
We've
we're
got time.
There's
we're
so many
okay.
ideas.
I know.
So many. So fun.
I know. I'm
I'm
excited.
like, Halloween is so I'm a teacher by trade.
Oh, okay.
Um
What
and
grade?
so I teach special ed, so I teach grades
Oh,
1 to grade 6.
nice. My mom's a
Um
teacher.
really
Yeah.
I love meeting other teachers. But I feel like Halloween in schools is so different because there's like a laundry list of things. It's like you cannot do this, you
Yeah.
cannot do this,
But
you
you better
cannot
do
do this.
something.
And if
Right.
you show up
Yeah.
not dressed up, everyone's gonna think you're crazy.
Yeah.
Or a loser.
Yeah.
We can't have
Yeah. Yep. Very fair. Very fair. Well, we're here today to talk about the Nightshade Crown Trilogy.
that.
Deirdre and I both finished it kind of within 24 hours of each other.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And we have just been gushing about it since. We were
Thank
so
you
excited
so much.
we are very excited to talk about it. You did the thing, girl. You wrote
I
a
did
Oh,
the
really
for
thing,
real.
it's done. And I'm still kind of shocked that I did. I never thought I was gonna be like a series author.
Oh yeah.
Because like the idea of having to like sustain the story and come up with something that like works over multiple books, it was very, very intimidating to me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So joke's on me because like everything I've published thus far has been part of a series,
No, I
but
was about to say,
still,
like,
I
duology
know.
trilogy, like, hello?
Yes. I am a dumbass. We'll just leave it at that. Um, but yeah, for some reason doing a trilogy was much, even though it's just like one more book, it was much more intimidating to me than
Yeah.
a duology. So, but it's done, baby. And I liked it. I think I like what it became. So,
I
So did
can't
we.
imagine it being anything but a trilogy. Like the three books work so well.
thank you
Yeah.
so much. Yeah, it was so the idea kind of like came packaged as a trilogy like already in my brain, which is
Oh,
the only
cool.
reason I was able to pull off like making it
Yeah.
a trilogy. It wasn't like it was definitely not like one of those situations where you like go to your publisher with one book and they're like, "Have you thought about making this a trilogy?" And you're like, "I guess."
Hmm.
Like it was very much this is what it is like from the outset. So I knew like exactly where each book was going to leave off. Um and if it hadn't like come to me so like already whole like that, I would not have been able to make it a trilogy. So,
Totally fair. Um,
Okay.
for any of our listeners that haven't been listening for the last 3 years, as I have endlessly talked about these books, uh, how would you pitch at least the first
ooh.
book or the whole trilogy, whichever, to our listeners?
So I have like longer pitches that I do whenever people really want to like actually know about it, but I also have like unhinged short pitches, um, which work well to just like kind of toss off. And the Foxglove Kings is Dead Goddess causes infrastructure problems. And then Hemlock Queen is infrastructure problems persist along with other problems. And then Nightshade Goddess, oops, all apocalypses. But that really doesn't tell you anything about like what's going on in those books. So, basically this trilogy follows lore in fantasy France. We'll call a spade there. She's a poison runner and can also use death magic, which leaks from the body of a dead goddess underneath her city. Traditionally, one would have to have had a near-death experience in order to use this magic, but Lore's been able to use it from birth for reasons. And she has just laid low because it's illegal to use this magic without like specific like church dispensation. But then she accidentally raises a horse from the dead one day at work. Whomst among us, it happens. Um, and she gets pulled in front of the king. She thinks she's gonna get arrested, but instead he wants her to work for him, and things spiral from there.
And boy, do they spiral.
Boy, do they.
And they
No
just
one's having a
keep
good time.
spiraling.
And they do. Beautiful. You know what? The short ones, I was like, if you read the books, you're like, yeah, that is
Yeah, you get
exactly
it.
Yeah,
what.
that's it.
The girls that
That's the
get
thing
it.
is it's like they're mostly like those are what's good for people who have already read the books. It's like, but someone who hasn't is like that told me nothing.
What? Huh? You kind of started touching on it, but our first question is about the magic system in the world. The magic system is so unique in this world. What was your inspiration for writing the magic this way?
Ooh.
Um, yeah. And then
So,
there's a part two, but we'll get to it.
okay, we'll get to it. So, my a lot of the decisions that I made with this series was mostly me just looking at what I had done in the Wilderwood books and being like, okay, I want to do something completely different.
Mm.
Because and like with friends that I've talked to, I think this is a pretty like common fear. Whenever you publish your first book, and especially if that first book is a series, whenever it comes time to like move on from it, you kind of are paralyzed a little bit about like, but what if I can only do this one thing?
Hmm.
Um, because typically you've spent a lot of time thinking about that one thing because, in the time before the book is like on a publishing schedule and you're just revising it and stuff on your own before you have an agent or whatever. You spend so much mental time on it and then once you're on a publishing schedule and it's like okay, you're at a book a year, you never get like that time again to really sink into something. Um so that was a big fear of mine and the way that I kind of dealt with it was being like okay, well I am just going to make like the opposite decision for everything for this book. So we did like a big cast, whereas Wilderwood had been very limited cast. It was set in like very like opulent, more urban settings as opposed to being just like in the woods. And the magic system was another one of those. I had known that with Wilderwood, I'd already kind of done the elemental magic thing. And I didn't want to do that again. So, but I really like whenever I'm building a magic system for it to be set on a very clear dichotomy. Like I'm someone that whenever I'm thinking about it, I need to be able to think of it in like very concrete physical terms because I like to like describe how it looks when it's happening and how it feels whenever it's happening versus just like what the results of it are. So I wanted um like an opposites set to work off of. And it was like, well, life and death are about as opposite as you can get. So let's see how we can deal with that. So it was me kind of deciding that early on that that's what I wanted to do, and then having to like figure out what exactly that looked like and what the rules around it would be through many, many, many rounds of revisions. But I like where it ended up, even though it was mostly a decision made by me being a contrarian and not wanting to do the same thing twice.
It works. It works. What magic would you want to wield in your
Ooh,
world?
none of it, honestly. Like
Yeah,
nobody
and that's
takes
fair.
time. Like I'm good, actually.
Yeah, I feel like the cost that comes with it
Yeah,
is a little too high.
yeah. Like in Wilderwood, it would be cool to like have some of the like earthy magic going on, but in Nightshade Crown, I'm good, actually.
Fair. Very fair and very diplomatic.
Very diplomatic. Um, so there are several sort of like things, I'll generalize,
Yes.
are like central to the plot that comes through all three books. One of
Mhm.
them is religion, and I loved that part of it. I feel
Thank
like
you.
not a lot of people explore religion as a plot point. It's kind of like a thing that maybe happens in the background. They base it off of one of our religions, but
Yeah.
don't necessarily like flesh it apart. So,
Mhm.
can you talk about your approach to creating this religion and why you chose to have it be so important to this story?
Yeah. Well, your girl is traumatized, so that was kind of like why it became so central to this book. Um, because that was kind of what I was doing, and it's what I was spending so much time thinking about and kind of in my own like deconstruction journey that had started before I started this book, but was definitely I was still like very much in the meat of it as I was working on this story. And so it kind of became a vehicle for me to write out my thoughts and to like have conversations with myself almost for the things that I was spending a lot of time thinking about. Um and as far as like actually creating it and like what I wanted it to look like, it's um so like the aesthetics are very Catholic because we were in like a royal court setting that seemed to just be like what it was leaning toward. And also, I mean, like say what you will about the Catholics, the aesthetics, they got them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really do.
They really do. And then because I knew that something I really wanted to be exploring was like the tension of religion itself in like how there's so many things that you kind of have to like gloss over and not think about in order to take it as a whole. And then whenever you start digging into those things is whenever stuff kind of starts to break apart and you have to have
Mhm.
a more complicated relationship to it than like the religion itself would want you to.
Hmm.
Um, so that's kind of why I made it to be like a very Catholic feeling religion, but with a very like Greek pagan-y pantheon.
Mhm.
Um, because I really liked the idea of a religion that started out that way and then kind of just got sanitized through the years as people started using it less as a religion and more as like a tool of oppression, essentially.
Hmm.
Um, and also the idea of these people that were very like pious and reserved, worshiping this very hedonistic pantheon was funny to me. And like how they would sanitize that like down through the years. So yeah, like Catholic aesthetics, Hellenistic God inspiration, and then evangelical trauma.
Yeah.
It would I found myself with each book just being so struck by it because I was like, I I forget that some of my favorite fantasy books do center religion and the like deconstruction of it. That
Yeah,
like one person pokes one hole and that hole
the
then
holes
leads
keep going.
to
Yeah.
like
Mm.
more being unveiled
Yeah.
and how do you come to terms with the way you worship and who you worship and
Mm.
should you be worshiping and
Yeah.
what that worship does for the person you're worshiping or the people that have taken on a um
Yeah.
what is it vessel for that person or thing. Yeah, I was just so, especially in this third book, I feel like it really kind of came together so beautifully.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I was like, whoa, my brain is working.
That's what we're going for. Yay.
Heck yeah. Amazing. Okay. So Deirdre's like the resident fantasy lover. I love
Okay.
fantasy. I do love fantasy, but I love romance equally as much.
Yeah.
Not that Deirdre doesn't love romance too, but I feel like
Yeah.
we
I
No,
get you.
you know.
we
Yeah.
have like similar things, but Danielle is more romance forward and I am more fantasy forward for sure.
Yes. All right.
She's like a romance sun with a fantasy rise.
Perfect.
And then like
I think I have a horror moon. That's it.
We're the
horror
we're the same. We're the same person.
Yeah.
horror moon. That's crazy. But um, Deirdre and I both we discussed this quite a bit. But we both describe the series as being like a strangely cozy fantasy series. There's something about this series that feels very cozy, and this is like our warped version of cozy, where it's like
Yeah.
it's so dark and oppressive
Yeah.
based, but there's just something about the connections of the characters and how deep the connections are that it makes it feel very like familial and cozy. Are we crazy?
No. I I will say I have never heard anyone describe this as cozy, but with the explanation of it being about like the familial relationships, that makes sense to me because it is very much like the circumstances that are happening to these characters are terrible,
Oh, for
but
sure.
they make every attempt to not make it terrible for each other and kind of try to like mitigate that.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, so like the found family vibes are very strong, and so I would agree. I think cozy is a good way to put
Thank you.
it.
Thank you. But if you go into this book, for listeners at home, expecting like super cozy,
Yeah.
you're not. Don't do it. You're gonna
Yeah.
you're gonna be super confused and slightly alarmed. But there is some element of, and even some of like the claustrophobia of being stuck in this royal court and like
Hmm.
having eyes on you all the time
Yeah.
gives this feeling of like, I guess it's not cozy. It's
Yeah. But it's like enclosed.
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's
It's
kind
like
of yeah. No, I see where you're coming from. I'm picking
it's
up what you're
like
Same.
laying down.
cozy to me in the way that when I want to read these books and how they feel to me, like aesthetically as I'm reading them, is I'm like wrapped up in a blanket. I have a beautiful cup of tea, and I'm just like so immersed. Where, like, if I'm reading Legends and Lattes, I'm like sitting
Yeah.
outside at a cafe, the sun is shining, and I'm wearing
Yes.
a pretty dress. Like,
Yeah.
two different sides of the cozy coin,
Yes.
both cozy to me.
Yes. This is sweatpants cozy.
Yes,
Not
Yes.
exactly.
not like cute little picnic with your pals cozy.
Exactly.
No, this is like I can't be seen in public when I'm
Yes.
reading this book because I will be sobbing.
Yes. As Hannah witnessed, because I saw you liked mine.
That was so funny. Like we got him. That's exactly what we're going for.
Weeping. And I reread the ending because I was like really a glutton for punishment and I wept again.
Wow.
So congratulations, you got me.
I cried every time that I worked on the ending,
Wow.
which is unusual for me because typically, like, I do it once and I might like cry a little bit and be like, well, yay, then that means that I did what I wanted to do. And then every time I go into it after that, it's like purely technical, just like
Mm.
making sure these sentences are doing what I want them to do and that everything is flowing the way that I want it to. But this one got me every time.
I can't say what I want to say because it's a spoiler.
Yeah.
But maybe we'll talk after.
Yes.
We'll get into more spoilery territory a little bit later, but we won't spoil. It'll be light spoilers.
Light
We
spoiler.
have to. We have to.
Yeah, it's
It's hard
so
to talk
hard.
about without them.
It's hard when a trilogy is finished and you're like, read the
Yeah.
third book, but also read the first two.
Yes, but also there's other like the
There's
whole thing.
stuff.
I saw
Um,
somebody asking, they were like, it was like an Instagram post I was tagged in or something, and someone had asked, like, oh, can I read this one without reading the other two? And they were like, no, it's
no.
not gonna make
I
any sense to you.
I dare you to try. Like
Like,
I would love
I
to
feel like
see.
there's some trilogies where you can and you can kind of like pick up on like what came before and like have enough of a working knowledge that it'll be fine. But this is not one of
I
those.
feel like that's never in fantasy though.
I was
Like,
gonna say
Yeah.
that is a romance thing where it's like you can spoil like the first couple and like the first book and you're like, I
Yeah,
don't
whenever
really
it like
care.
changes couples every
right.
time. Yeah.
Fantasy, if I got dropped into any fantasy book too,
Yeah.
All bets are off.
I don't
I
know.
would
No
I'd be
clue.
like just flipping pages. Like I can't
Yeah.
even read
Because
anything.
none of this is sticking in my brain.
Nope. Nope, nope, nope.
So, sticking on the like cozy darkness train, I am obsessed with how dark your books are. Like,
Thank you.
you do not shy away from the lowest of low and the deep, dark things that I feel like not a lot of, not only authors, but people shy away from discussing and acknowledging. And when faced with those things in books, I'm always like, ah, thank you.
Here it is.
I
Yeah.
need this. Um, so how do you balance that with the humor? Because your books are
Ooh.
very funny.
Thank you.
Like that is one of the things I love the most about your books is that I know I'm walking into a good time.
Thank you so much. That is a lovely. I will carry that with me. That is really good to hear. Um, Honestly, I think a big reason why I do that is because I am really into Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Hell yeah.
And I feel like I've seen that show so many times that something about the way that it balanced kind of the same thing, where it's like we're dealing with some major dark stuff,
Hmm.
but someone is going to make an incredibly stupid joke right afterward. Something about that really spoke to me and I guess helped me engage with those things more, like in my own brain and in wanting to engage with it in the stuff that I was reading. Um, and I feel like that's kind of how those conversations go in real life, also.
Yeah.
Like the melodrama can only be sustained for so long without somebody wanting to break that tension. And because that is how like I communicate, because that's how my friends communicate, it makes sense for me to make the characters communicate that way as well. With this trilogy in particular, also like I got to do it more because Lore is a funny character.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
she just has this very like dry, acerbic wit to her.
Hmm.
Um, and Bastion too, and then Gabe is just kind of like a stick in the mud, although he gets some zingers occasionally.
Yeah.
Um, but that like kind of freed me up to do more in this trilogy because like the Wilderwood trilogy doesn't it has that some, but not nearly as much, just because there wasn't necessarily that didn't really fit the characters. But here it did, and so I was like, okay, then we're just gonna like roll with it because I like it and I think I'm funny. So and I'm mostly at the end of the day, I'm writing merely to amuse myself, and I've just gotten very, very lucky that I get to bring other people along for the ride. So if I think it's funny, it's gonna go in the book.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
So then, I guess maybe on the other side of that, do you find it difficult to get out of thinking about those like darkest
Ooh.
of dark things and go back to living life? Or, um, like how do you balance that? Because like some like
Yeah.
not just like the gory stuff that happens, like I don't know.
Yeah.
To me,
Because
that
the gory
feels
stuff
like
doesn't affect me at all. The gory stuff is super fun, and I
right,
just
but there's
I'm like,
like
yeah.
very deep like things happening relationship wise or
Morality
like
questions.
morality
Yeah.
questions, the whole religious trauma of it all. Um like
Yeah.
how do you get out of that headspace after a writing session?
I don't.
Mm.
I am just kind of I promise that I'm very fun at parties, but I am also just like thinking about those things all the time, kind of in the back of my head. Um, because I am very mentally ill, but also that's just kind of how I've always been, I guess.
Mhm.
I just th those are things I'm always kind of turning over in the back of my brain and trying to like make sure that I am living and reacting in a principled way according to like how I have answered those morality questions. Like it's never something that kind of falls by the wayside for me. Um, yeah, so writing is actually pretty freeing because I get to like actually like sit down and think about them and write about them as opposed to being like I can't really think about the duality of man right now because I need to go grocery shopping. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
Me sitting at work
Mhm.
answering emails, like, oh,
yes.
I'm doing this again. Yeah.
Like, what is goodness? Can anyone actually be good? Will we ever be forgiven? I have to send this email.
Like, I'm just trying to drive home, please,
Yeah.
please. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about we're into kind of more book territory now.
Yeah.
Um, okay. This is verbatim what I wrote. The ending sequence of the final book was criminal and had me sobbing. How do you finish such an epic trilogy for optimal satisfaction for your author heart, but also for your readers' hearts?
So, my mean answer is that I am thinking about my satisfaction and just hoping that my satisfaction translates to reader satisfaction.
Hell yeah.
I don't spend a whole lot of time worrying over hoping that, especially like at the end of a series, like it's you worry about it some just because like it's your livelihood, but I try not to spend a lot of time thinking about like, okay, but are people going to be happy that it turned out this way? Are people going to like be happy about like a certain ship sailing or whatever? Um,
Hmm.
because and it's not because I don't care about that. It's because I feel like my job is to write the book in such a way that the ending that you get feels satisfying, even if it's not what you wanted going into it.
Mm.
Hmm.
Um, and you know, sometimes you do that, sometimes you don't. There's no one who can write something that is going to be universally beloved because reading is such an individual thing and everybody's bringing their own lives and their own experiences and their own expectations to a book. There's no way that you can meet everybody right at the pinnacle of giving them exactly what they want. But you can write it in such a way that even if it's not what they want, it is still satisfying and
Hmm.
it still feels like the ending that had to happen. So that's,
That's,
yeah,
I was
Totally.
gonna
that's
say,
like what
like,
I'm going for.
no, I was gonna say, like, there feels the whole final book, you and I both talked about this to each other. It just felt like a steam train. Like it was just the
Yeah.
trajectory so fast. You were like couldn't flip the pages fast enough.
Literally was
Um,
like itching at work to get back to reading it. I was like, what do you mean I have to pay my bills? I have a book to read.
I've got more important things to be doing, please and thank you.
Yeah.
But some of my favorite I will always prefer an ending that surprises me and is an ending I
Mhm.
didn't know I needed versus one that I couldn't tell is going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, especially as a romance sun reader, um, I often expect a happily ever after, and when I
Mm.
don't get a happily ever after, I always think those endings are way more impactful because I'm like, okay, why don't we get this? Why, like, what is happily ever after?
Yeah.
Um, and asking those bigger questions. But yeah, that the and like the last like 100 pages of the book, I was like, what is going on? You guys. My cats were like looking at me and I was like, don't look at me right now.
Sorry that
I'm
I
a
worried your
mess.
cats.
Hey, they were like I said the last time I cried this hard reading a book was Sunrise on the Reaping. And
Oh,
that
wow.
that had me sobbing,
Man, that's high
that had me
praise.
crying, that had me crying in the club. They
Yeah,
both.
all of us.
Um, but the epilogue sequence um will probably go down as one of my favorite epilogues.
I think
Thank you
it's my
so much.
favorite epilogue.
Thank
It
you.
just is like so perfectly like, and this is me like blowing hot air into your head. It is so perfectly written.
Thank
And
you.
it just it gives you exactly what you need, but doesn't like linger for too long. And it's like to close off such an epic trilogy, there needs to be some kind of wrap up. Like there needs to be some kind of
Yeah,
like falling action. Like what is happening after
yeah,
this huge climax, especially the climax that we get in the final book. It's ginormo. Um, but it was just the pacing of it I love because it felt like for the first
thank
time
you.
in the book I could like
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
we got to sit and we got to wait and we got
yeah.
to s sit on that for a bit, which was oh I was like, damn, she knows what she's doing. This is
Yeah.
crazy.
Thank you so much. I had to restructure that epilogue a lot.
Mm,
So I'm really glad that it landed. Like I knew what I wanted to do, but landing on the way that it's structured took me a couple tries before I was like, okay, I'm not gonna be able to like make this work unless I do that. So I'm glad it worked.
it
Yeah.
sure did.
I think it's funny that you're like, I write things that resonate with me, you,
Mhm.
because this series genuinely feels like you're like, there's a girl in New York who's a fantasy sun, a romance rising, and a horror moon who needs this book, and that person's me.
Honestly, that is like the coolest thing about writing
Right.
is because whenever you do write something, like I think that the only people who are able to stick around in this industry are people who kind of come to the conclusion that it's like, I'm gonna write the things that I want to read because the only person that I am guaranteed to please is myself.
Yep.
Just because trying to write to trend, trying to write what your publisher wants you to write, that'll burn you out real quick. Um,
Yep.
so literally all of us are just writing the stuff that our own little weird brains want, and it's just the luck of the draw that there's people out there that their weird little brains want that also.
Congrats, you found two of them.
Well,
Yay!
it's like it's the whole like lifestyle or life cycle of artists, right? Like Deirdre and
Yeah.
I, both in different aspects of our life, are artists as well, um, and creators. And it's like the second that you check yourself to being like, I'm making what's important to me, your work becomes authentic and meaningful and
Yeah.
like transformative to you.
Hmm.
And the second you're like, I don't care about pleasing other people, is when you start, it's when it starts being like magic.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if it has a one person who likes it, better than nothing.
Yeah. It's like if you're satisfied with it, that is the hardest battle. And
Totally.
everything else is just icing at that point.
Yeah. Uh, so I am obsessed with lore.
Me
And
too.
specifically, I am obsessed with her unabashed want to live and to
Hmm.
maintain her own power.
Yeah.
Um, and through all the books, you explore the idea of power in different ways, like godly power, power of choice, and free will.
Hmm.
And I would love if you could talk a little bit about why it was so important to you and at what point it became so integral to the story. Like,
Ooh.
was that from the outset, or like as you were writing, you realized, like, oh, this is like the linchpin kind of?
It was really at the outset, and it's because it's something that I have been writing about since the beginning. Like, whenever I wrote for The Wolf, the entire idea for that book came from thinking about Little Red Riding Hood as like a morality, purity story and thinking how you could change it if you decided to instead make it about like choice and bodily autonomy.
Mhm.
Um, and again, the religious trauma, the purity culture of it all, that is something that I've spent a lot of time thinking about, how it affected me, how it affects culture at large. I have a tween daughter, so it's something that I think about even more now.
Hmm.
Um, and I knew going into this trilogy that if I was going to be talking about religion, that talking about choice and autonomy was again going to very much be at the forefront of that. Um, and I wanted to, and as much as those things were also at the forefront of the Wilderwood duology, the heroines of that duology also were very much the kind of people that would set themselves on fire to keep other people warm. Like they were willing to make huge sacrifices themselves for everybody else, and Laura's not.
Hmm.
Um, and so that again was just kind of that contrarian thing of me being like, well, I did this thing, so now let's do something completely different and see how that works out. Um, because honestly, the whole trilogy, like, if Laura had just been like, okay, and given up and died, the trilogy wouldn't happen. The entire
Mhm.
trilogy happens because she's a stubborn bitch, and
Hell yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
But like I love that she gets to be that, right?
Yeah,
Like she gets the choice to be that rather than
yeah,
this chosen one where it's like chosen one trope where which I love that you kind of play with the like stereotypes we know of the chosen one
yeah.
trope and kind of
It's
put it on
like
its head.
it's real bad, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I'm like at least it has a fun commentary spin rather than like you're stuck in your destiny and you don't get any choice in anything
yeah.
that like your fate is written for you. I love that. I'm like, yes, go queen.
Yeah.
So good. Okay. This we gotta talk about.
Okay.
The love triangle, the throuple.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you. Me too.
I'm like from like the deepest parts of my soul of like my Twilight loving like preteen
Yes.
self
Yes.
having to choose between the two. I just want to know your thoughts about having this beautiful relationship polycule throuple
Ooh,
rather than having a traditional love
traditional.
triangle.
Yeah. I couldn't choose between them, so it seemed rude to make Lore do it.
Nice.
It's pretty much what it comes down to.
Oh yeah.
I did, whenever I was writing the first draft of Fox Love King, the plan was for it to be like a traditional love triangle.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was whenever I started revising that book for my editor that I was like picking up on vibes because like Bastion is Pan,
Hmm.
and like I knew that I wanted that and I wanted that established early. And so like he flirts with everybody and he was flirting with Gabe and I was like, I'm into it actually. Okay, so how hmm. And at the end of the day, it really just seemed like a waste of vibes to not go for it. And it also like tied in really nicely with like the kind of like Mount Olympus
Hmm.
situation that we had going on with the Golden Mount and how like, all the gods were fucking each other all the time and nobody really cared. That was just like part of the lore. And so something like playing with that and how like that had been like sanitized out of the religion now was really just kind of like added another fun layer to play with. So I guess the best answer is just I thought it would be fun, so I did it.
And it was, and I'm glad.
Iconic.
But I'm like, it's true. Like, there's so much chemistry between all of the characters that, like, I think it was in the second book. I can't remember, but Laura has like a thought to herself where she's like, why can't I have both? And I
Yeah.
was like,
Why can't she?
Yeah, why not? What's stopping her?
oh, what a thought. What a
What a
beautiful
thought you're
thought.
having. Keep thinking that way.
Girl, keep going. So good.
One
It's
of my
Um,
favorite scenes, this is kind of spoilery, I guess, but like not in an important way. But one of my favorite scenes to write in Hemlock Queen specifically was Bastion breaks Gabe's nose, like he punches
I
him in the
knew
nose.
it.
And then just like immediately like puts his hand over his nose and heals it, but their faces are really, really close and they're like pushed up against a wall. And I was literally writing that like
Oh, it was so
I
good.
was so pleased with myself.
The yearning, like
Yeah.
I know all the internet girlies have been screaming, "Bring back yearning," and I'm like, y'all aren't reading this series.
Y'all
I
are like
love
I've had
sleeping.
similar thoughts. I'm like, I'm doing my best. I am
There's
trying
only
to
so
I'm
feel
much
some
one
yearning.
person can
I'm
do.
so uninterested in the like instant gratification or a couple getting, especially in a fantasy trilogy, the
Yes.
Yes.
couple getting together in the first book and then overcoming relationship issues in the second and third.
No.
I'm like, no, no, no. I'm in it for the long game. And you gave us
Yes.
the longest game.
Thank you.
And yeah.
The longest game.
And
But
no, I
it's
Well,
won't be elaborating because that will be a spoiler.
yeah. But it just it's I just loved it. I thought it was so
thank
refreshing.
you.
I was like,
Thank you.
I'm like, especially like Deirdre and I are Kitty Robert lovers. We love Kitty Robert.
Yes,
She
I
has a
also
lot.
love Katie Robert.
She
Friend of
has
the
a
pod.
lot of.
Such a gem of a human.
Oh, we've had her on the podcast. She is delightful.
Wonderful, wonderful human being.
Delightful.
But she's from the same like camp of thought where it's like, why not everybody? I'm like,
Yeah,
you guys.
why not?
Ugh,
One
it
of
just
my
makes me so
favorite
happy.
like little Katie Robert things, I think she posted this on her TikTok, was where she said that she like blocks sex scenes that have more than three people like with Barbies to just like make sure
Yeah.
that like, physically everything works. And I was like, that's brilliant actually.
No, for real, because people aren't doing that enough, and we can
And you can
tell.
tell.
You
I've been reading before and been like, I don't think anatomy works that way.
No, you
like
can't simultaneously be at their feet and at their crown of their head. I
No, that's not gonna work, unfortunately. We all wish it
unless
could, but it simply can't.
I'm like, you know what? Like if I'm reading an intimate scene and then I have to stop to think about sketching it out because I'm like,
Yes,
how
and
is
you
this
have to stop and be
happening?
like, wait,
hang on.
You, I'm lost. I'm lost, girl.
any sex scene that makes me stop and make the face that's like, for any reason, I'm out. And be like, I'm gonna take this as my sign. This is not for me.
Illusion has been shattered.
If I have to like double take to my fake imaginary audience that watches me
Yes,
read my
you
book,
have to pull a Jim Halpert. It's time for
literally,
enough.
get me out of here. Okay. Last little cue about the book before we get into our current read section. Um, I love, and we talked about this a little bit, but just to highlight uh this kind of through line a little bit, but I love the narrative and the through line of the series of how history is told and who gets to tell it.
Yeah.
Why is this so important to you, and why was this such a prominent theme in your writing?
Because here we are. Um, yeah.
Yep.
Uh, one of the reasons why I love fantasy is because it is a way you can sneak up on people. Um, you can put stuff into a fantasy book like talks about wealth inequality, talks about rights for LGBTQIA people.
Mhm.
Um, you can talk about religion and how it gets twisted. And because it is all couched in fantasy terms, um, people don't immediately clock that you're trying to like get them to realize something. Um, and they'll keep reading because they're into it with the characters. And I think that that is a very important thing for anyone who is writing fantasy to think about and to do with intention. Um, because, the whole if you don't learn your history, you're doomed to repeat it.
Mhm.
And also realizing that like the history classes that you took in school are not sufficient. You have to seek out other voices that are not going to be included in textbooks and real life accounts and listen to people and their lived experiences who are still dealing with repercussions now of things that have happened in history and are continuing to happen today. And yeah, I think that all of that very holistically comes together to just be like, if you want to be a conscientious human, then you pay attention to what's happening now, but you also make sure that you understand what happened before.
Mhm.
And you also understand who has told you about it and why they may have chosen to frame it in the ways that they did. Um, yeah.
Yeah. In my non-online life, I'm a fashion historian and a
That's
lot,
so cool.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a cool ass job.
And I like a large part of my research, I should say, is restorative history. So I look at how specifically like gender and feminism and fashion
Mm.
history intertwine and whose stories got to be told, where the holes are,
Mhm.
and how we can, think a little bit differently about how gender and gendered fashion has evolved. Because, spoiler alert, it hasn't just been in the last 80 years.
Yeah.
Um, and I love walking into fantasy books and seeing them do similar things, where
Yeah.
it's like, let's take something as simple as a purse someone is carrying, or something as large as the religion that they um,
Yeah.
are in, and think about all the ways in which it's constructed for society.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. And all like the things that has been filtered through in order to
Mhm.
give you a blueprint for how whoever made the rules wants you to act.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I think it's so important is like to talk about the constructions of the things that why we believe the things that we believe or why like what has made us think that certain things have to be certain ways. But then also, especially in fantasy books, finding a way to critique that and not just be like, yeah, these are the things that are oppressing us, but
Yeah.
being like, this is how we should maybe feel about that, or here are
Yeah.
different ways that people can feel about it.
Yeah.
Um,
And also
is
like the thought that just because it is not happening to you, you should still care if it's happening to other people. Like,
yeah.
it's like teaching people empathy, which is
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. And like it does sound crazy, but also that is a taught thing. And
Yep.
it's something that we we see as not being taught
Yep.
sometimes. And I know that I've been a huge reader ever since I was a kid, and reading was a huge part of what taught me empathy
Oh,
because
absolutely.
I was being, mentally put in situations and meeting people that I had no opportunity to meet in my like very white, very Christian, small southern town.
Mhm.
Um, but through reading, I met, you know, um, people that were different from me and identified with them and understood them. And it's like that is such an important part of being a kid who grows into a conscientious adult. And so um that's anyway, everything is connected and that's why we need to save our public libraries and also stop book bans.
Hell yeah. But and continuing off of that a little bit, having these conversations that are in our like children's books, right? Like I think all of us can think of 2 to 10 books we read in our
Yeah.
childhood that gave us the ability to understand and act on empathy. And we shouldn't be losing those things as adults. It's
Yeah.
incredible to
Yeah, it's a
lose
lifelong
that.
thing.
But then it's
Mhm.
also incredibly disheartening to know that, like, I read the same books as so many people because plenty of people are talking about them on the internet, and yet me and somebody else do not have the same understanding of empathy.
Yeah.
Or understanding of the
Yeah.
messages of some of those books. I'm like,
Right,
oh, we took very different things from these books.
Yeah.
right.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why I think the argument that books are not political is so dangerous. Um, because yeah, like people read, they're like, well, I just read to like turn my brain off and just for entertainment. And it's like, but you can never functionally turn your brain off. Like you need, I hope that you're thinking critically about everything that you read and all the information that you take in your brain. Um, yeah, because I think that, I don't know, some people will read a story and then it's just like, well, that was a nice story. And but there's no application of anything within that
Mhm.
to
Right.
the rest of the world. And I don't know.
It's like, babe, if you are
Yeah.
reading a book off, like brain off, that is politically reading the book. That's just
Yeah.
maybe
It just
something you don't
means
want to
that,
come to
yeah,
terms
you
with.
were making the choice to not engage with it.
Right.
Well, and I'm like,
Yeah.
you choosing to not engage is political.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
So it
And
might be the unpopular opinion of like people might get upset at you, and then you're like, well, I'm just doing it for fun. I'm like, well, every choice you make is political,
Yeah.
yeah,
especially in artistic or creative spaces.
Yeah.
right. And to your earlier point of how you go into structuring books and creating space for people to explore things like gender expression and sexual expression and religion and politics. Someone who is the opposite coin to you is doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And they are imbuing their own thoughts into those books. And it's happening for everybody. Like you are
Yeah.
making a conscious choice, every author is making a conscious choice.
Yeah. Nobody writes a book by accident. You go through it so many times that every single thing that you put in there, you have had to think about until you feel like your brain is going to drip out of your ear. So it is not like, yeah.
Mhm.
And on that note,
Cat.
yes.
Hi, Cat.
Uh,
What's Cat's name?
This is Almond.
so we like to round out our episodes by talking about the books that we are currently reading. Are you currently reading anything?
I'm currently reading like three things because
Nice.
that's how my life works. So I'm reading Dream by the Shadows by Logan Carley because I am doing an event with her this Thursday for her tour, and it is so much fun. It is one of the most imaginative premises that I have read in a fantasy book in a very long time, and so I'm having a great time with that one. I am also reading a nonfiction book. It's called I Spit on Your Celluloid, and it's the history of women directing horror movies. Um, and
Ah.
I bought it mostly for the cover. It has this really cool, like VHS grain, like psychedelic cover. But also very good, very like interesting stuff. My horror debut is coming out next year, so I'm trying to like make sure I know my stuff. Um, and
Mhm.
then I'm also reading it's called Flicker and it's was published in 1991 and like boy can you tell. And I cannot remember who wrote it, but it's basically like a book about a haunted movie, which is one of my favorite like horror microtropes is like cursed footage. So
Mm,
that's what I'm reading.
okay.
Cool.
Danielle, what are you reading?
I'm reading, I'm getting into the Elsie Silver backlist. So I'm reading Flawless,
Ooh.
Elsie Silver, um, which takes place in the city I'm from, which is crazy because I'm from Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Oh.
I I
Danielle
know
and I live on opposite sides of the world.
we sure did.
Wow.
Well, opposite sides of the continent.
Oh, that's true.
Close enough.
It feels like the world sometimes.
But yeah, this book is about a rodeo guy, a professional rider, a rodeo guy,
Video guy.
Driver.
I knew what you were
I
I knew
like
what you
Driver.
a
were
driver.
rodeo
He's the
driver.
bull
A bull
driver,
driver.
right? Um, and he basically gets caught by a paparazzi, like saying that he hates milk, but he has a milk sponsorship. Just so silly. He's like, I hate milk, and so they're like, burn him. It's crazy. Um,
Man,
they said get him.
that's really funny. That is
Very
genuinely very funny.
it's very funny. And so then he goes back to his agent and they're like, we're I'm sending my daughter to live with you on your ranch as your babysitter for the next 2 months so that you can finish your world
Oh
championship.
no.
I know.
What's gonna happen?
I think they're gonna fall in love. I
Maybe.
think. I think
I
so.
love the main conflicts in contemporary romances because whenever you come from like having to think about fantasy all the time, and it's like the main conflict is like imperialism and also like the gods are trying to kill you actually, and then it's like he said he hated milk and he has a milk sponsorship, and I'm like, that's refreshing, actually.
You're like that is that is the conflict I can
That
deal with in
seems
my
nice.
day-to-day life. It's very silly. I'm a huge fan of Elsie Silver's other series, her Rose Hill series, and it just got announced that she's putting out a new series. And she's a Canadian author, so I
Nice.
always plug Canadian authors. This definitely reads like earlier work,
Yeah.
compared to the other series, but I'm having fun.
And that's all you can ask for, really.
And and especially after having my heart ripped out, I need something fun. I
I
need the milk conflict. I need it. What about you, D?
Um, so little backstory. A couple weeks ago,
uh,
I talked about how my two of my very close friends are pregnant and I'm getting baby books for their to be children. Um, and I was joking that I was suddenly going to jump a ton of books in my reading list this year because I was going to read a ton of children's books. Well, I read
Hell yeah.
two because I was gifting them. And they are so delightful. So the first one is The Bakery Dragon, and it's about a little baby dragon who wants a hoard and doesn't know how to get it and stumbles across a bakery and ends up making a bakery and like baked goods its hoard.
Oh,
And it is so, the illustrations in it are so beautiful. They're so lush and like so visually stimulating in the best way. And I was just so charmed by this little baby dragon. And then a book that I'm pretty sure Danielle introduced me to is What Do You Do with an Idea? I gift it to all of my pregnant friends when they are about to give birth. It is truly one of the books that I wish I had had as a child, but I'm so delighted to have found as an adult. And it is exactly what the title is. There's this little egg, and it is the visualization of an idea, and it follows this little child around. And what do you do when you have this thing percolating? And how do you care for it? How do you tend to it? How do you make it into something? Uh,
it's really
it's
good.
just so lovely. And then for me, I just started Recipes for an Unexpected Afterlife by Destin Munden. This comes out in October, and it's about an orc and um, what is it called? Prologue. um, is him as a like small orc, and his dad is performing magic, and you quickly figure out that he is cooking, and you know that he is destined to be a fighter, and that just based on his circumstances, that is going to be his life, but there is a softness to him, and then you're dropped into the first episode where he has lived his whole life and he's in his afterlife, and has been brought back to life and through circumstances is like in a undead knighthood, that he doesn't really want to be in and was kind of freed from, but they're also trying to figure out how to like disband them, sort of, but they also still kind of need them. And his knighthood may be coming to an end, and he doesn't really know what the rest of this afterlife is going to entail. And so, based on the title, I think it's going to entail some cooking, and I'm really excited.
I love the cover.
It's so cool,
It is cool.
I love that. It looks like a Richard Scarry book.
right? So, I'm excited. Um, I can hear people screaming at me because I know I talk about bindery books a lot, and yes, I am a tastemaker with bindery, but I do genuinely like the books that are being published with bindery, so nobody come for me. Okay,
Crazy.
we did it. Oh my
We
gosh.
did it.
Thank you so much, Hannah, for
Thank you
coming
so much for
on.
having me.
Uh,
This was really nice.
I'm so glad.
You guys have good questions.
Thank you for letting us chat to you. Where can our listeners find you outside of your books?
Ooh, I am on Instagram at H Whitten Writes. That is the only place I am at on the internet.
Nice.
Well, wait, I have a Substack also, but there's like a link on my Instagram, so you can get there from there.
Perfect.
Check it out.
And when does your next book come out?
It comes out May 5th, which is very close. It's called Reliquary. It is a horror novel. It is kind of Ready or Not meets Rebecca meets like marine body horror.
So
Um
sick.
yeah, I'm really excited about it. It's really gnarly. But yeah, that comes out in May. We should be having like a cover reveal and stuff very, very soon.
Perfect. Yet
Yeah.
another reason to go follow Hannah if you're not following her already.
And it's gonna be a really cool cover. Like I've seen concepts and I've seen who they've like the artists that they hired, and it's gonna be really, really sick.
Oh,
So
I
cool.
mean, if your history is anything to go by, I do not doubt that you will have an incredible cover. Thank you so much for listening. This is the last episode of season 5. If you are joining us for the very first time, you now have an entire season to go listen to with plenty of episodes. And I said this was season 5, so you have 4 other seasons you can go listen to
Yeah.
and get your fill of Books on the Brain. We are at Books on the Brain Pod on Instagram. You should head on over there to let us know that you listened to this episode, and you should leave the heart on fire emoji,
Mm.
because that is how Danielle and I feel. Uh, you can also follow Danielle and I on our personal accounts if you want to stay up to date with us and see what's going on while we are on a season hiatus. I am at Deirdre Rose Morgan on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Bindery.
And I'm at DJ Books on Instagram, TikTok, and on Threads.
Thank you so much for an incredible season. Thank you so much, Hannah, for coming on. We will chat to you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.